My best friend Lisa spent 2 years convincing our entire social circle that I was having a mental breakdown. She'd whisper concerns about my paranoid behavior and mood swings while playing the worried friend. When I found her diary, I discovered she'd been documenting her plan to isolate me and steal my boyfriend all along. There's a special kind of evil that hides behind concern and friendship, the kind that slowly poisons everyone against you while positioning itself as your protector and advocate. I lived with this evil for 2 years before I discovered the truth. And by then, almost everyone I cared about had been turned against me. My name is Rachel Morrison. I'm 26, and this is the story of how my best friend systematically destroyed my reputation and relationships while convincing herself and everyone else that she was helping me. I met Lisa Chen during our sophomore year of college, when we were randomly assigned as roommates. She was bubbly, outgoing, and seemed genuinely interested in becoming friends. I was more introverted and struggled with social situations, so having someone like Lisa take me under her wing felt like a blessing. "You're so smart and talented," Lisa would tell me. "You just need more confidence. I'm going to help you come out of your shell." Lisa introduced me to her friend group, helped me navigate campus social life, and became the sister I'd never had. She was supportive during my struggles with anxiety, encouraging during my academic challenges, and always seemed to know exactly what to say to make me feel better. After college, we moved to Portland together and shared an apartment while we both started our careers. Lisa got a job in marketing at a trendy startup, while I found work as a research analyst at a consulting firm. Our friendship continued to be close and supportive. We had weekly movie nights, went on weekend trips together, and shared everything about our lives, relationships, and dreams. Lisa was always the more social one, maintaining friendships with dozens of people, while I preferred smaller, closer relationships. She would often invite me to parties and group events, acting as my social buffer when I felt overwhelmed by large crowds. "Rachel's a little shy," she would explain to new people we met, "but once you get to know her, she's amazing." I appreciated Lisa's advocacy and felt grateful to have someone who understood my personality and helped me navigate social situations that didn't come naturally to me. The problem started about 2 years ago when I began dating Mark Stevens, a guy I met through work. Mark was kind, intelligent, and shared my interests in books, hiking, and quiet evenings at home. We had an easy, comfortable relationship that felt natural and genuine. Lisa seemed happy for me initially, but I noticed she started making subtle comments about Mark and our relationship. "Are you sure Mark is right for you?" she would ask. "He seems kind of boring." "Mark isn't boring. He's just not as extroverted as the guys you usually date. I just want to make sure you're not settling, because you're afraid of being alone." These comments felt unnecessarily critical, but I attributed them to Lisa's protective instincts as my best friend. Over time, Lisa's concerns about my relationship became more frequent and specific. "I noticed Mark didn't seem very affectionate at dinner last night," she would observe after group outings. "He was fine. Not everyone shows affection the same way. I'm just saying, you deserve someone who's crazy about you. Mark seems more like he's just going through the motions." "Lisa, Mark and I are happy. I don't need him to be constantly demonstrative. If you say so, I just think you could do better." These conversations started to make me question my own perceptions of my relationship. Was Mark less affectionate than I thought? Was I settling for someone who wasn't truly invested in me? Around the same time, Lisa began expressing concerns about my mental health and behavior. "Rachel, you seem really stressed lately," she would say. "Are you sleeping okay?" "I'm fine. Work has been busy, but that's normal. You just seem more anxious than usual. Maybe you should talk to someone." "Talk to someone about what?" "I don't know. You've been kind of paranoid lately. Like you think people are talking about you or judging you." This was news to me. I didn't feel paranoid, but Lisa's observations made me second guess my own emotional state. "I haven't felt paranoid." "Maybe you don't realize it. Sometimes when people are stressed, they don't see their own behavior clearly." Lisa's concerns escalated over the following months. She started pointing out symptoms of anxiety and depression that I hadn't noticed in myself. "You canceled dinner with Sarah last week," she would mention. "And you've been turning down invitations to group events? That's not like you." "I've just been tired. I needed some quiet time at home." Rachel, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You're isolating yourself from your friends. I'm not isolating myself. I'm just being selective about how I spend my time. That's what people say when they're depressed. These conversations were confusing and frustrating. Lisa was describing behaviors and feelings that didn't match my own experience of my life, but she seemed so concerned and certain that I started wondering if I was losing touch with reality. The situation became more serious when Lisa started sharing her concerns about me with our mutual friends. I'm really worried about Rachel. I overheard her telling our friend Emma at a coffee shop. She's been acting really strange lately. Strange how? She's become really paranoid and moody. She thinks Mark doesn't care about her, and she's been pushing away all her friends. I think she might be having some kind of breakdown. Should we try to help her? I've been trying, but she won't listen to me. She gets defensive whenever I bring up her behavior. I was shocked to hear Lisa discussing my supposed mental health issues with other people. When I confronted her about it, she claimed she was just seeking advice about how to help me. I'm scared for you, Rachel. I don't know what to do when my best friend is clearly struggling and won't admit it. I'm not struggling. You're the one who keeps telling me I'm struggling. See? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You can't see your own behavior objectively. Lisa's campaign of concern began affecting my other relationships. Friends started treating me differently, speaking to me in careful, gentle tones, as if I were fragile or unstable. How are you doing, Rachel? Emma asked during a group lunch, with the kind of concerned expression usually reserved for people who were seriously ill. I'm fine. Why? Lisa mentioned you've been going through a tough time lately. What tough time? You know, with the anxiety and everything. I realized that Lisa had been telling people I was having anxiety problems that I wasn't actually experiencing. I don't have anxiety problems. It's okay, Rachel. There's no shame in struggling with mental health. I'm not struggling with mental health. My emphatic denial seemed to confirm everyone's belief that I was in denial about my problems. The situation got worse when Lisa started documenting my supposed symptoms and sharing them with our friend group. Rachel had a panic attack at the grocery store yesterday, she told people, describing an incident where I had felt overwhelmed by crowds and decided to leave without finishing my shopping. She's been having mood swings and getting angry over little things, she reported, after I had expressed frustration about work stress during a dinner conversation. She's obsessing over whether Mark really loves her and analyzing every interaction they have, she shared, twisting my normal relationship discussions into evidence of paranoid thinking. Each of these reports was based on a grain of truth, but distorted to sound like symptoms of serious mental illness. I started to feel isolated from my own friend group. People were treating me like I was unstable, speaking to me carefully, and exchanging concerned glances when they thought I wasn't looking. Mark also began to be affected by Lisa's campaign. Rachel, Lisa mentioned that you've been having a hard time lately, he said one evening after spending time with our friend group. What did she tell you? Just that you've been stressed and anxious. She's worried about you. Mark, do I seem stressed and anxious to you? Sometimes. Maybe. You have been questioning our relationship more lately. I realized that even Mark was starting to see me through the lens of Lisa's narrative about my mental health. The breaking point came 6 months ago when Lisa organized what she called an intervention. She invited our entire friend group to her apartment and asked me to come over for what I thought was a casual gathering. When I arrived, I found 8 of our mutual friends sitting in a circle, looking serious and concerned. Rachel, we wanted to talk to you because we care about you, Lisa began. What is this? We're all worried about your mental health, and we want to help you get the support you need. Each person took turns sharing their concerns about my behavior, using examples that Lisa had provided them. You've been isolating yourself from friends, said Emma. You've been paranoid about your relationship, added Sarah. You've been having mood swings and emotional outbursts, contributed Jake. All of these observations were either exaggerated or completely fabricated, but hearing them from multiple people made me question my own sanity. I think you should consider talking to a therapist, Lisa concluded. We're all here to support you, but you need professional help. I was devastated and humiliated. My closest friends were telling me that I was mentally unstable based on information that Lisa had provided them. I can't believe you're doing this to me, I said, starting to cry. We're doing this because we love you. Lisa replied, putting her arm around me. But you need to accept that you're not well. I left the intervention feeling completely alone and confused about my own mental state. If everyone I trusted was telling me I was unwell, maybe I really was losing my mind. I made an appointment with a therapist, Dr. Sarah Williams, and explained the situation. Tell me about these symptoms your friends are concerned about, she said. As I described the behaviors Lisa had identified as problematic, Dr. Williams looked increasingly puzzled. Rachel, what you're describing sounds like normal stress responses and relationship concerns. Nothing you've told me suggests serious mental health issues. But my friends are all worried about me. They organized an intervention. That's concerning, but not because of your mental health. It's concerning because it suggests someone has been feeding them false information about your behavior. Dr. Williams helped me understand that I was being manipulated and gaslit by someone who was systematically distorting the truth about my behavior and mental state. This is a form of psychological abuse, she explained. Someone close to you is undermining your sense of reality and turning your support system against you. But why would Lisa do that? She's my best friend. People who engage in this behavior usually have ulterior motives. They might want to control you, isolate you from other relationships, or position themselves as your primary source of support. Dr. Williams encouraged me to start documenting interactions with Lisa and paying attention to the patterns in her behavior. Over the next few weeks, I began to notice things I had missed before. Lisa always seemed to escalate her concerns about my mental health after I had spent time alone with Mark or made new friends. She volunteered to be the person who updated our friend group about my condition, positioning herself as my primary caretaker and advocate. She seemed to enjoy the attention and sympathy she received for being such a devoted friend to someone who was struggling. Most importantly, I noticed that many of the incidents she reported to other people had either never happened or had been significantly distorted. The revelation that changed everything came when Lisa went out of town for a work conference and asked me to water her plants. While I was in her apartment, I accidentally knocked over a stack of books on her nightstand. As I was picking them up, a leather-bound journal fell open, and I saw my name written multiple times on the visible page. I knew I shouldn't read Lisa's diary, but seeing my name so prominently made me curious about what she had written about me. What I found was devastating and enlightening. The journal contained 2 years of detailed entries documenting Lisa's plan to isolate me from my friends and break up my relationship with Mark. March 15, 2022. Rachel's getting too close to Mark. I need to plant some seeds of doubt about their compatibility. If I can make her question the relationship, maybe she'll end it herself. April 2, 2022, told Emma and Sarah that Rachel seems depressed lately. They're starting to watch her more carefully now. Need to give them specific examples of concerning behavior. May 20, 2022. Rachel seemed happy at dinner tonight, which is annoying. I mentioned to the group that people with depression often put on a happy front. Now they think her good mood is actually evidence of her instability. June 8, 2022. Mark is starting to believe that Rachel has anxiety issues. I suggested he might need to be more patient with her mental health struggles. He's being so careful around her now, which is exactly what I wanted. August 14, 2022. The intervention went perfectly. Rachel looked completely broken when she left. She has no idea that everything I told the group was either exaggerated or completely made up. Now she's questioning her own sanity, which gives me total control. September 3, 2022. Rachel is seeing a therapist now, which is actually problematic. I need to be careful that she doesn't figure out what I've been doing. Maybe I can convince people that therapy isn't helping and she's getting worse. October 25, 2022. Mark seems frustrated with Rachel's supposed mental health issues. I've been subtly suggesting that he deserves better than someone who's so unstable. I think he's starting to consider breaking up with her. November 30, 2022. Phase 2 of the plan. Position myself as the perfect alternative to Rachel. I've been spending more time with Mark, ostensibly to update him on Rachel's condition. He's starting to see me as more stable and supportive than his girlfriend. January 12, 2023. Mark almost kissed me last night when we were talking about Rachel's problems. I pulled back at the last second, but I can tell he's attracted to me. All I need to do is maintain the narrative that Rachel is too unstable for a serious relationship. The diary contained dozens of entries detailing Lisa's systematic campaign to destroy my reputation, isolate me from friends, and steal my boyfriend. She had been documenting fake symptoms, creating false narratives about my behavior, and manipulating our entire social circle for 2 years. The most chilling part was how calculated and methodical her approach had been. She had researched symptoms of anxiety and depression to make her lies more convincing. She had carefully planned which friends to target with which stories. She had even practiced concerned facial expressions and supportive language to use when discussing my supposed mental health issues. I took photos of the relevant diary pages with my phone, then put everything back exactly as I had found it. That night, I called Dr. Williams and told her what I had discovered. "Rachel, this confirms what we suspected," she said. "Your friend has been conducting a systematic psychological abuse campaign against you. What should I do with this information? That depends on your goals. Do you want to repair your relationships with your friends? Do you want to expose what Lisa has been doing? Do you want to protect yourself from further manipulation?" I decided I wanted to do all three. The next day, I made copies of the diary pages and started planning how to reveal the truth to my friends and Mark. I decided to start with Mark, since his relationship with me was the most important thing I wanted to protect. "Mark, I need to show you something," I said when we met for coffee the next weekend. I showed him the diary entries that specifically mentioned him and Lisa's plan to break us up. Mark read the pages in silence, his expression growing increasingly angry and disgusted. "She's been lying to me about you for months," he said finally. "I thought you were having serious mental health issues because Lisa kept telling me about symptoms and incidents that apparently never happened. Did she ever suggest that you should break up with me?" "Multiple times. She said I deserve someone more stable, and that staying with you might be enabling your mental illness." "And you believed her?" "I believed her because she was your best friend. I assumed she knew you better than anyone and had your best interests at heart." Mark was furious that he had been manipulated and apologetic, that he had doubted our relationship based on Lisa's lies. "I should have trusted my own observations instead of letting someone else tell me how to interpret your behavior," he said. Next, I decided to approach our mutual friends with the evidence. I organized a group meeting and invited everyone who had been at the intervention, plus a few other friends who had been affected by Lisa's stories about my mental health. "I want to show you all something that will explain a lot about what's been happening over the past 2 years," I said, and handed out copies of the relevant diary pages. The room fell silent as people read about Lisa's systematic campaign to convince them I was mentally unstable. "This can't be real," said Emma. "Lisa has been so concerned about you." "That concern was an act," I replied. "Look at the dates. Every incident she reported to you was either exaggerated or completely fabricated." Sarah looked up from the diary pages with tears in her eyes. "Rachel, I'm so sorry. We believed everything she told us because we trusted her. She documented fake symptoms and practiced how to present them convincingly," I continued. "She researched mental health conditions to make her lies more believable." Jake was shaking his head in disbelief. "She organized an intervention based on completely false information?" "She organized an intervention to isolate me from all of you and make me question my own sanity." The group spent the next hour processing what they had learned and apologizing for their treatment of me over the past 2 years. "We should have questioned why all of our information about your behavior was coming from one source," Emma said. "We should have talked to you directly instead of listening to secondhand reports." "Lisa was very convincing," I replied. "She positioned herself as the concerned friend who was trying to help me while secretly undermining me to everyone I cared about." The final step was confronting Lisa herself. I decided to do this publicly, in front of our friend group, so that she couldn't deny or minimize what she had done. I invited Lisa to what I told her was a group dinner to celebrate my progress in therapy. When Lisa arrived at the restaurant, she found me sitting with Mark and 6 of our mutual friends with copies of her diary pages spread across the table. "What's going on?" she asked, immediately sensing that something was wrong. "We know what you've been doing," I said simply. Lisa looked at the diary pages and went pale. "Where did you get those?" From your apartment when you asked me to water your plants. You read my private diary? You've been lying about me for 2 years. You convinced everyone I was mentally unstable, tried to break up my relationship, and planned to steal my boyfriend. Lisa looked around the table at the faces of our friends, all of whom were staring at her with anger and disgust. I don't know what you think those pages prove. They prove that you documented a systematic campaign to destroy my reputation and relationships. Mark interrupted. They prove that you manipulated all of us with fake stories about Rachel's mental health. They prove that you're a sociopath who gets pleasure from controlling and hurting other people, added Sarah. Lisa tried several different defense strategies. She claimed the diary was fiction, that I had misunderstood her intentions, that she really had been concerned about my mental health. But the evidence was too detailed and damning for any of these explanations to be credible. Lisa, you wrote down specific plans to make me question my own sanity, I said. You documented fake symptoms and practiced how to present them to my friends. You researched mental health conditions to make your lies more convincing. You tried to steal my boyfriend by convincing him I was too unstable for a relationship, Mark added. You organized a fake intervention based on completely fabricated concerns, Emma said. Faced with irrefutable evidence and universal condemnation from our friend group, Lisa finally dropped her act. Fine, she said angrily. You want to know the truth? I was tired of watching everyone treat you like you were special when you're actually just boring and ordinary. So you decided to convince everyone I was crazy? I decided to show people who you really are. You're insecure, needy, and not nearly as smart or interesting as everyone thinks. By lying about my behavior and mental health, by helping people see past your act, Lisa's true personality was finally emerging. The concerned, supportive friend had been a carefully constructed facade hiding someone who was jealous, manipulative, and genuinely cruel. You're sick, Mark told her. You spent 2 years psychologically abusing someone who trusted you. I'm sick? She's the one who was so pathetic that everyone believed she was mentally unstable. Because you fed them false information, I said. I gave them a reason to see what was already there. Lisa left the restaurant still, claiming that she had been justified in her actions. She had convinced herself that her campaign of psychological abuse was actually a public service. The aftermath of exposing Lisa's betrayal was both vindicating and challenging. My relationships with my friends were damaged by the 2 years of manipulation, but most of them were willing to work on rebuilding trust and communication. We should have been better friends to you, Emma told me during one of our reconciliation conversations. We should have questioned the narrative we were being fed instead of just accepting it. Lisa was very skilled at manipulation, I replied. She knew exactly how to present information in ways that seemed credible. Mark and I also had to rebuild our relationship, since Lisa's lies had created doubt and tension between us. I'm sorry I let someone else convince me that you were unstable, he said. I should have trusted my own experiences with you instead of believing secondhand reports. I understand why you believed her. She was presenting herself as my advocate and closest friend. Dr. Williams helped me process the psychological impact of 2 years of systematic gaslighting and manipulation. What Lisa did to you was a form of psychological torture, she explained. She deliberately undermined your sense of reality and turned your support system against you. How do I prevent something like this from happening again? By trusting your own perceptions and being wary of people who seem to thrive on drama or position themselves as the primary source of information about other people's lives. The experience taught me valuable lessons about toxic friendships and manipulation tactics. Lisa had been able to conduct her campaign for so long because she understood how to exploit people's trust and concern for others. She positioned herself as the worried friend who was just trying to help, which made it difficult for people to question her motives or verify her information. She also understood how to use mental health stigma to her advantage, knowing that people would be reluctant to challenge someone's reported psychological struggles. As for Lisa, she completely disappeared from our social circle after being exposed. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she had moved to another city and was apparently repeating similar patterns with new groups of friends. People like Lisa don't change, Dr. Williams told me. They just find new victims to manipulate. The experience was traumatic, but it also made me stronger and more aware of manipulation tactics. I learned to trust my own perceptions and question information that comes from a single source, especially when that information seems designed to make me doubt myself or others. I also learned the importance of direct communication and not relying on intermediaries to manage my relationships. Most importantly, I learned that real friends support you without trying to control you or turn others against you. 2 years later, my relationships with Mark and my true friends are stronger than ever. We've all learned to communicate more directly and question narratives that seem designed to create drama or division. Lisa's attempt to destroy my life ultimately backfired, making my genuine relationships more honest and resilient. Sometimes the worst betrayals teach us the most valuable lessons about love, friendship, and trust. And sometimes the people who try to convince everyone you're crazy are the ones who are truly unstable.